Good morning, CSL Simi Valley. Yes, indeed. Did you wake up this morning with your mind stayed on spirit? In a way, I did. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on possibilities. And as I was watching the Soul Purpose Band doing their thing in the backyard at the backyard compound of the Collins Robinson family, I was just thinking, all the other ways that song goes, like singing and praying, dancing and singing. You could just add anything you want, to the song and just keep it going and keep spirit rolling in your life because it's all God. There's only the one. There's one life. That life is God. That life is my life. That is your life now. And in that experience, there are so many ways to shift, to change, to improve whatever condition you're in. And if you're thinking, my life is excellent, you know what? It could be more excellent. And if you're thinking, the Science of Mind teachings has possibilities. It shows us how we can move out of whatever condition we're dealing with as we examine our beliefs, our thoughts, and apply those spiritual principles to our lives. Today we'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about all the various streets we can travel down and how we might be able to change some of those streets. And I've been looking at what's going on. What a week. What a week. So in the possibilities, it's all about the possibilities. We've got the possibilities. We've had Earth Day this week and major announcements from Washington about how we can step forward in our nation to be a leader again in climate healing. They call it climate change, but I want to call it climate healing because the climate needs to have its perfection revealed. And we get to do that because we know exactly what to do and how to do it. And now it's time to do it. It's time to walk down that street that brings us a new way of being in that. And then we've got COVID and the vaccinations and the places opening up and things coming back to be how they have been. And that's also gives us another opportunity for some possibilities as we move into what was good, right? And then add to it what we've learned through this COVID experience, how to slow down, the value of relationship, the importance of home life, the importance of our neighbors, our friends, our family, how to be less busy and still more productive. Because in many, many ways, this is like there's like a poster or something that talks about what would happen at your deathbed, and nobody's going to say, I wish I had gone to work more or anything like that. They're going to say, I wish I had more ice cream, wish I'd gone to the park more, wish I'd gone to the beach more, wish I'd loved my kids longer, that kind of stuff, So we learned a lot about that. That's the new way we get to go. And then we had the Chauvin verdict this week. In the same week, Dante Wright. We had Andrew Brown, just the other day. A young man in Chicago, Adam Toledo. Philando Castillo in the car, moving away from the police. Andre Brown moving away from the police. There's so much. My mind just gets blown by all of this that we're talking about. But there we've seen there is a shift. There's a new consciousness developing, and we have the opportunity to go in a new direction as we look at this systemic situation that continues to see black and brown bodies dying at the hands of police. What is that all about? We get to look at that. We get to examine our belief systems, and we get to shift that direction. Living in the possibilities. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on possibilities. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on possibilities. Feel it with me. Feel the possibilities for advancement, for growth, for the courage of our United States, of our world, on the macro and the micro. Let's go into prayer. Just open up our service today knowing that the Divine Spirit is right here, right now, wherever you are, I am, for there is only the one. There's no time or space. There's no here, then, or before in spirit. There's only the now. So right now we are all together receiving exactly what we need to hear, being told exactly what we need to be told. I open myself up to be a vehicle for the divine expression, and I'm simply knowing that the Center for Spiritual Living, Simi Valley, is of one consciousness, united, individualized, yet together, always. And so it is. Beautiful, beautiful music coming today from Nathen Aswell, and he brings the Chapman stick. I love that Chapman stick. It's just an amazing instrument. So he's going to play a song for us. and it's called The Faith of God. And I was thinking about, what does it mean to have the faith of God? Well, first off, that word of, it's interesting how the little words, it is done unto you as you believe, as, 2 letters, big word, in, big word, be involved, right? Anyway, so of, faith of God. When you're of something, you're a part of the whole, right? So when we are having the faith of God, we are part of the whole. But I was thinking about God and faith, the faith that God has. Why is it important for me to have the faith of God? Well, see, God does not have any doubt in its ability to manifest. God is the great manifester. Its self-givingness is the manifest universe that we experience. So when we have the faith of God, we are in that space where we know that we are part of the whole that has no doubt about its ability to create. So when you're listening to this song from Nathen, think about it from that perspective, that when I have the faith of God, there is no doubt in my consciousness about my ability to create the life that I want to live, or to create the world in which I want to live in. That's a powerful idea. We'll go right from Nathen's song into our gap meditation, and then I'll be back with you right after that, okay? So here we go. Nathen Aswell, our guest musician for today, with his song, The Faith of God.
Warm greetings, CSL Simi Valley. My name is Nathen Aswell, and I'm coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. It's my great pleasure to be a part of your Virch this morning, and I thank Reverend Stephen and Cherie for the opportunity to do so one more time.
Dress, forgive myself for thinking that I am small and less than who and what I am. Divine creation with a simple job. Express my thoughts and feelings with the faith of God. At first I was happy and carefree, and limited thinking ensued. Taught to believe that I was not enough. That story became my truth. But it's time to stop, redress, forgive myself for thinking that I am small and less than who and what I am. Divine creation with a simple job. Express my thoughts and feelings with the faith of God. Now let me look at my language, be mindful of all that I say. Words shape the way I see things in the world. Each one's a potent prayer. It's time to stop, redress, forgive myself for thinking that I am small and less than who and what I am. Divine creation with a simple job. Express my thoughts and feelings with the faith of God. It's time to live completely as unified and whole, and in that full engagement reclaim my truest role. It's time to stop, redress, forgive myself for thinking that I am small and less stop. Express my thoughts and feelings with the faith of God. Faith of God.
Now it's time for our GAP meditation. GAP stands for God Awareness Place. So we'll keep time for just a minute. Take a breath, relax, and go within. Welcome back. I invite you to make meditation a part of your daily practice. Namaste.
Thank you, Rob. You always come up with these really sweet videos. I really appreciate that and appreciate the work that you and your camera operator, your cinematographer, Linda Legman, put into doing your videos. Thanks so much for that. Yeah, man, Nathan. That song is such a sweet song. In the faith of God. Whew. So as I was speaking about I just saw a blink. I think I'm still here. Yeah. Looks like the signal's still going. Let me check here. See if you guys are saying anything. Good. Yeah. Oh, right. Yes, Darlene. Nathan's voice is like a warm blanket, isn't it? It certainly is. Beautiful song. So this talk today, it's called A New Street. A New Street. I got this idea on New Street from Portia Nelson. Portia Nelson was a singer, songwriter, actress. She was in The Sound of Music. She wrote wonderful songs. She also wrote a book after dealing with cancer. It's called There's a Hole in My Sidewalk. And in the book, there's a talk about the something she calls the autobiography in 5 chapters. And so I've loved that piece since I discovered it maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I just love this 5-chapter piece. It's basically talking about our habits, our habitual ways of being, and how divorced we can even be from them, how unconscious we can be from our old habits. Old habits. Old habits. Old habits. That sounds like an oxymoron, really. How can a habit be an old habit? Because in order for it to be a habit, you have to do it so much times that it becomes a habit. Therefore, it's already old. But I'm sure I'd like to think there are some habits that are outdated, that are overdone, that we perhaps need to let go of. And then there's some habits that we don't even know we have that are still impacting our life on a daily basis, and we're wondering, why? Why, my God, have you forsaken me? Well, maybe you need to look at your habits. Another way of saying, look at belief systems. We're so driven by our belief systems to open ourselves up to understanding something that's deeper that we don't even know. There was this guy. I shouldn't laugh. It's not a funny story, but it is a funny story. Well, there was this guy who was dealing with a health issue. His ears were constantly ringing like tinnitus, His eyes were bulging. His face was flush red all the time. He couldn't understand what it was all about. He went to doctors everywhere, all over the world. I mean, he went to acupuncturists. Had Reiki. He did everything he could think of. He consulted mystics and had crystals read and had readings and did the stars, and even went to a small doctor in a country far away and had some surgery. And finally he hears about this, and nothing went away. He still had the ringing ears, the eyes bulging, the face flush red all the time. And finally he found this one doctor that he was told might have some hope for him. So this is his last hope. He's on his last leg of hope, and he's thinking to himself, okay, I'm going to go see this doctor. Well, this doctor says, you know what? I've done everything. I've done every test. I hate to tell you this, I think you have like 6 months to live. Well, he had done so much work, he was resigned to that belief. He said, okay, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to shuffle off this mortal coil in 6 months. You know what? I'm going to live my life. I've been spending all this money on medicine, on doctors, and healing. I'm just going to go out and have a good time. In fact, I'm going to go to the Riviera, and I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to go to Mardi Gras, and I'm going to go down to Brazil to the festival. I'm going to go to Hawaii and go to the Kamehameha hula contest and Hilo. I'm going to go everywhere. But first, I think I'm going to go have some special shirts made, some clothes made. So he goes to see this shirt maker. And the shirt maker is measuring him, and he measures around his neck, and he says, and he's writing things down, and he says arms 34, and, sleeve 33, and neck size 16 and a half. And he goes, no, I wear 15 and a half. He says, let me check. No, you wear 16 and a half. I wear 15 and a half. You need to I want my shirts 15 and a half. He says, it's up to you, dude, but hey, don't come back to me complaining about your face all flush red, your eyes bulging, and your ears ringing. Da-da-da. Boom, boom. Maybe. It's hard to know if it lands when I'm here, here. So I'm really looking forward to being back here with everybody, so we can know whether it's a Teresa story or a good story. But the point of the story is, how do we get to where we are? How do we get to be who we are, who we're being? And who do we think we are in the first place? Sometimes we don't think. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes it's just a habit. Sometimes we're in a lot of pain, and it's because we're wearing a 15 and a half when we should be wearing a 16 and a half. We should expand and grow, but we're stuck, and the ego doesn't know this sometimes. The ego is there to protect you and to keep you safe, and it may think that the next phase, the new way, might not be a safe way. But we don't know what we don't know, but when we get a chance to, when we look back, this is why in our teaching we talk about examining our beliefs. We look at the condition, we examine our belief systems, and then see what it is that's getting us to where we're going. It's like what James Hollis says, the psychologist. He says, what is unconscious owns us and brings the weight of history into our lives. What is unconscious owns us and brings the weight of history into our lives. What we don't know that is still impacting us on a regular basis, that little thought process. I started talking about this systemic violence against people of color, and what that's looking like from our law enforcement officials, and perhaps it's this. I don't know. I don't have all the answers to this, but we have a history. If you look at the history of policing in our country, we have a history that is associated with this behavior, and we need to take the weight off. And look at what is unconsciously happening, what is registering in the body, what is registering in history, and then move forward under that. Because we know that when we do that, we will see a change. When we look and examine where we have been, we will see a change. We can look into our unconscious by examining what is consciously happening and then eventually looking at all of it and maybe making a T-chart, the cons and the pros, and see what this is showing us. Sit with a practitioner in prayer, take some of the classes that we teach. When you move into those deeper experiences of finding out who you are and how you got to be, we can make these changes. See, our Declaration of Principles tells us that. Dr. Holmes wrote down these we believe statements about the science of mind. And one of them is that we believe that the universal spirit, which is God, operates through a universal mind, which is the law of God. So the spirit has the idea and the law that makes it happen. And this law of God that we are surrounded by is a creative mind, which receives the direct impress of our thought and acts upon it. The impress. We impress the plastique of the universe into forming the experiences that we have. But it takes time to learn that we have choices. It takes time to step into a new street. And that's what Portia's story is all about. Let's go to it. We start with chapter 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find my way out. Why does it take so long to get out of the hole? Why do we not think it's our fault? Why do we feel hopeless around it and lost? Well, let's go back to that unconscious thing. Let's go back to that ego thing that wants us to stay comfortable, that wants us to stay safe. That says when you try to go in a new direction, it says, whoa, hey, chillax. It says, here, hold on. It says, the ego, it says, relax, kick back, take it easy. And a spiritual lethargy takes over. And in that, sort of a growth atrophy takes place. We choose to be comfortable in our discontent versus the risk of stepping off into our greater yet to be. But as our dear practitioner of the day, Rob, found out through reading The Science of Mind, that's not an excellent formula. Here's what he says about that.
We bind ourselves until we learn how to change thought, and thus change limitation into freedom.
So see what he's saying? We bind ourselves until we learn how to change thought. And then what is limiting us goes away and we step into freedom. We must remember that we impress the law of mind to create the life we want to create. That's this process of science of mind. And this is why this story really resonates with me. So let's go to chapter 2. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes a long time to get out. We think it isn't our fault. We forget. We don't realize that we have a responsibility to our lives and that we each play a very unique part in life. And while we might pretend that we don't see the conditions around us, we are still impacted by those conditions. We will still fall into the hole. We will still desire a new way, and we won't want to be there. I mean, we don't just fall in a hole and camp and set up a camp and stay there. No, what happens? We try to get out. We do eventually get out. But at time, especially when it seems like we go back and again and again and again, and this is my experience too. I mean, I'm saying we, but maybe I should just be saying me, because this is what happens to me. And I don't know if it's happening to you, because I know a lot of you very well, quite personally, and I don't know if this is happening to some of you guys. You guys are like spiritually evolved, right? You don't always sit on the chill, take it easy, relax space. You're working to expand your life in all kinds of wonderful ways. But I also know that sometimes doubt does arrive. Doubt does show up. And James Hollis, in that wonderful book I was reading, he says, hey, when there's doubt, administer chocolate. But the truth is, when there's doubt, we must answer the call to face our fears. When there's doubt, we must answer the call to face our fears. And that's how we find our way out. When we're going, which way is out? Which way is out? The out is to answer the fears. And as Marianne Williamson says, the fear is not that we can't get out, not that we're inadequate of finding our way out. No, our fear is that we are so powerful once we get out that we won't know what to do with it. That our fear is not the darkness of the hole. Our fear is the light. And so sometimes the ego says, no, stay here in the dark where it's safe, where we know what the boundaries are. Don't jump out there. But sometimes you must jump out there. And you got to jump out there big. You never know what may happen when you do. There was this guy, Chuck Geschke. Chuck Geschke. Do you know the name? You may not know the name, but I know you know the guy. Because probably this week, at least once this week, you either sent something he created or you read something as a result of what he created. I'm talking about the PDF. He created the PDF. He created Adobe. He also made his transition this week. That's how I found out about the guy. And actually, when I was reading about him, it showed that he's kind of a 5-chapter autobiography and 5-chapter guy in his story. It's interesting. What happened is he was working at Carnegie Mellon. I mean, he's going to school at Carnegie Mellon. He studied computer science and was doing his thing. And he and another friend, a guy named Dr. Warnock, had created a computer back in the late 70s, early 80s. He created a computer that was called the Alto computer. And it was an interface that allowed him to try to print from the computer. And a guy, what's this guy's name? Oh yeah, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs happened to cruise by and saw what this guy was doing. They were talking together, and he saw how he was working on this thing called PostScript, which allowed a computer to talk to a printer to print. Because prior to that, the computer, you could do anything you wanted to, but then you had to go to a professional printer to get things done. Well, no, he stepped out. Chuck stepped out of his hole and became who he came to be by developing this thing called PostScript and later the PDF, so that computers could talk to each other and so the documents could be sent through the internet. And he decided that he would not sell his company to Steve Jobs, but actually keep it to himself. And then the company became Adobe, and the rest, right? We know about the story of Adobe. It's an incredible corporation. But the story here is that he went beyond his past, and I'll tell you a little bit more about his past in just a minute. But in doing this, he was able to climb out of his particular hole. And this is what Dr. Holmes tells us about that we should climb over rocks of unbelief, pass around barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream of faith. Must plunge into the stream of faith. We must climb over our rocks of unbelief and pass around the barriers of doubt. Basically, he's saying, get out of the hole, because on the sidewalk above, there is a faith there waiting that allows us to expand into the life that feels better, more comfortable, more alive, where we are standing in our light, not in our darkness, where we can feel our adequacy and not live from a fear of our inadequacy, and where there's also plenty of chocolate, right? Let's check out chapter 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It's my fault. I get out immediately. Because you see, we've discovered our science of mind principles, that there is a personal power that we have and a creative life that we are living, you see. And that's how we're able to open our eyes and recognize that it's a habit, and know that the pitfalls of life are still going to be there. Life has stuff. Stuff happens. It's just the way it is. But the stuff is happening so we can climb out of our holes and step out into a new street and live a new way. It's all about this ability to change our experience and to move into the, well, as Dr. Holmes calls it, the great drama of life. Let's see. He says, you are a spontaneous, self-choosing center in the great drama of being, the great joy of becoming, the certainty of eternal expansion. Listen to the hope in there, and also the assuredness in that statement. There's so much. You are a spontaneous, so you just instantly know once you've done this examination, once you've walked a couple of these chapters and fallen into the holes a couple times, you become a spontaneous, self-choosing center in this great drama of being. It's exciting to live life. There's a great joy in becoming something more than you've already been. And there's a certainty that you will continue to expand because it's part of the universe to continue to expand and expand and expand. That's what Dr. Holmes is telling us there. He's saying that on our journey, that we will bring some things with us and we will have to leave some things behind, but we will continue to expand as we get our eyes wide open. We know how to get out of the hole. This is what I was saying back about Chuck a minute ago, about Mr. Geschke. See, his dad was a printer. So it's interesting that he became a printer himself, in a way, an electronic printer. His dad was a printer, and his dad told him, son, there are two things you need to avoid: becoming a printer and playing the stock market. Well, he tried to avoid that. He did his own chapter 1, chapter 2 thing by deciding he'd gone to Catholic school as a kid, and he thought, I think this might be the way to follow the advice I'm getting from my dad, which feels safe and all that kind of stuff. So he went to become a Jesuit, and he liked to say that he and the Jesuits decided after a few years that he wasn't to be a Jesuit. So he left that, and that's how he ended up at Carnegie Mellon. You see, he walked around that obstacle that was standing in his way, you see, and became and left the Jesuits behind and moved into a new chapter of his life. I believe that chapter is chapter 4. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. He fell into a hole, following the belief that someone else told him what would be good for him. But something inside said, no, there's something better. When we follow the advice of others, it's not always bad, but there may be something inside of us that say, no, there's something else I need to be doing. I might need to walk around some obstacles. And so what he discovered is that engineering brought him more joy. Not making money, but making an impact on the world. And that's why he went to Carnegie Mellon, became a computer scientist, and then became this guy who developed the Adobe company. You see? But he had to walk the journey. As we see in the chapters, we have to walk down the street and maybe fall in the hole a few times and get out. But see, what we understand here is, as Soren Kierkegaard tells us, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. So he looked back at his life and saw that it wasn't working in the way it was supposed to be. But when looking at that, he was able to make a change. Had that in my own experience. I had a very successful life, but it wasn't working the way I wanted it to be. In so much as on the outside, it looked all great and perfect. But on the inside, there was a hole and emptiness. Then I found this experience, and I love it. I wake up every morning, and I'm just delighted to do what I get to do. And, we all wake up, and some mornings we're kind of grumpy. That's okay, but overall, the overall climate, while the meteorology of my life, which is the day-to-day, the weather of my life might be sunny, cloudy, or whatever like that, but the climate of my life is like San Diego. San Diego is like the most perfect climate. 73 degrees is the best temperature for the human body, and the average temperature, the mean temperature in San Diego is 73 degrees. It's like the perfect place for the human body. LA is not bad, but we're a little bit warmer than that. I think we're around 75 or 78, so we're almost perfect place. And if you live here, you know that. Gregory, San Diego's pretty cool, right? So, here we go. We got this guy, he's walked around his obstacles, right? He's decided that he's not going after money, he's going after making an impact in life. He's understood by looking backwards how he's going to move forward. He understood how to become a change agent. And after we walk these first 3 or 4 chapters, we do understand how to become a change agent in our lives. And to be a change agent is to be fantastically amazing, because human evolution has shown us that it's only a few people that have made the biggest changes in life. And if we take all those people out, the human race goes into turmoil. I mean, and you could make your own list, but there's Buddha and Jesus and Socrates, or Mandela and Gandhi and King, or Jobs and Gates and Geschke. Whatever arena it might be, political, social, spiritual, there are these giants, these individual change agents, and we all have the power to be a change agent. Make your own list and make sure that you put yourself on the list when we're talking about the change agents. I was reading Dr. Holmes from his book, the Beverly Hills Lectures, and I want to share a part of it that he was talking about. He says that it's kind of in this idea of getting out of the hole and stepping toward a whole new street, right? He says that the moment you step out of the ordinary ranks, okay, became a change agent I'm talking about here. The moment you step out of the ordinary ranks, the moment you step out of the procession that moves endlessly down the aisle, you are in the spotlight of evolution. Your own choice has decided you, and you are no longer going to think as others. You are no longer going to lay your greatness at the feet of a person whom you recognize to be great. The moment a person steps out of the endless stream of humanity, he no longer goes by the norm that was set by the mass mind. He is a leader. He is a thinker. She is one who introduces new things into the world. She is now, in my mind, in the mind of Dr. Holmes, and in my own mind as I read this, one specially chosen by the cosmic intelligence for a definite purpose. But he has to create the vision ahead of himself. I right now here declare that each person listening is specially chosen by cosmic intelligence for a definite purpose. It's true. We're individualized expressions. No two snowflakes on the planet are alike. No two humans, no two fingerprints, no two you and me are alike. We cannot ignore our purpose. We have to create the vision ahead of ourselves. We have to go down these streets, fall down these holes, come out of the hole, take a look around, and step in a new direction. When you don't experience your divine purpose, not only do you miss out, we all miss out. As Dr. Holmes says, we are part of an evolutionary epoch in the unfoldment of the human race, an evolutionary emergence of the pusher, whatever you want to call this thing back of things, which always shoves itself through the instrument that is prepared to receive it. I love this. This is one of my favorite quotes of the week. Part of an evolutionary epoch in the unfoldment of the human race. We are all a part of the human race unfolding, and there's this emergence. There's a push. He calls it the pusher, a push. The thing back of things, which is spirit itself, which shoves, which pushes itself through the instrument that is prepared to receive it. Be the instrument prepared to receive it. Be the instrument prepared to receive the good that is your purpose. And when you do, and when you prepare yourself, and when you open, chapter 5, my friends, I walk down another street. Are you ready to walk down another street? Let's hear today's affirmation.
I confidently turn the corner, walking afresh into my divinely beautiful life.
Thank you, Rob. I confidently turn the corner, walking afresh into my divinely beautiful life. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Whew. Are you ready for the revealing prayer? Would you like to do the affirmation together? I think we just did. So let's do a revealing. Let's do the, there it is. That's telling me. See, this is my cue sheet, telling me what's next. So I use that to kind of cue me around. Yes. Knowing the truth of us in each and every moment, that there is a divine presence that is calling us into its greatness on this day. So here's what I know. There's one life. That life is God. That life is my life, your life, the life of all. And when I say all, I mean everything. The trees, the birds, the oceans, the sky, this living planet upon which we float in space, the manifest universe, the galaxies, it's all alive. And the beautiful things that we, being originating in all of that is, are stardust that has come conscious of itself that can ask the questions of the universe. What now? What next? Where do we go? We go within, into the Father's house, pray in secret, and be rewarded openly. And that open reward comes in the form of perfect and right employment for all those that are looking to use their talents and skills and to be remunerated efficiently, effectively, and prosperously and abundantly for it. It shows up as healing and wholeness in the body. It shows up as the soothing of heartache from transition or loss. It shows up as the joy of celebration in victory and triumph. It shows up as prosperity and abundance when it looks like the reserves are low, be it the cash reserves, reserves of ideas, reserves of earth resources, abundance and prosperity and release from limitation. It shows up as the simple, unexpected pleasures and treasures that come from opening and surrendering, getting out of the hole and walking down a new street. This is the truth for us all. I affirm it now as I release this prayer with deep gratitude into a law that hears our thoughts, receives its impress, and divinely provides here and now in ways we can see and know and act upon. And so it is. So it is. This next song from Nathen is a wonderful follow-up to what we've been talking about. Because when it comes to walking down a new street, when it comes to getting out of the hole, it really is up to you. It's up to me. Here's my dear friend Nathen with his next song. It's up to you.
Yeah. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I seek the truth, let me speak the truth. If I'm lost in doubt, let me believe. I know I can be the change I want to see. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I'm tired or stressed, let me stop and rest. If I'm feeling hurt, let me forgive. I know I can be the change I want to see. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. If I dream of peace, let me live in peace. When I start from love, I am love. I know I can be the change I want to see. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. If it's to be, if it's to be, if it's to be, it's up to me. It's up to me. It's up to me. It's up to me.
Thank you, Nathen. If it's to be, it's up to me. That's a nice upbeat song. Man, his lyrics are so perfect. His study of the science of mind is flawless, and his songs dive deep. They're fundamental into our teaching, which is why I love them so much, yet they have that groove that makes them just secular and able to be played on the radio if you wanted to. And so that's like mixing it all together. And it really fits into what I believe that there's a book I read some time ago. I think it's Marcia Eliade or something like that. It's Sacred and Profane. And he talks about these two worlds that we divide ourselves into, but the sacred, the profane meaning the everyday, what's sometimes called the secular world, and the sacred, of course, meaning it's like all holy. But there is no difference. The sacred is the profane, and the profane is the sacred. There's only the one, and the various sides, it's complementary. And so if it's to be one, it's up to you and me to make it that way. It's really beautiful. Boy, I'm excited. I see that there was a comment about it, and I'm excited about next week because it's the Soul Purpose Band. You might have noticed a couple of the new videos we've played. We have a whole bunch of new songs from the band, and we're playing them next week as we talk about day by day. We're letting the one song Day by Day be the theme song for the talk next week. So really stick around and come back for that, and make sure you tell your friends to come in and check out the Soul Purpose Band, because we have one of the best bands in any church that I know of, and they could all be professionals, paid professionals, but they volunteer their time. And I'm talking about, led by Cherie Deeds. We got Steve Fowler on the guitar, Saul Lotzer on the drums, John Bellis on the bass, Lane Taylor singing background vocals, Lynn Maxon singing background vocals, Gary Malore on the sax, and let me go around the room. Sax, Steve and Gary and Lynn and Lane and Saul and occasionally Rick Erickey, who does percussion. Yeah, okay, we'll throw Patrick in there every now and then because he plays a harmonica. Guest performer. Okay, so that's next week. Yes, and that's true. And some of them, yes, some of them are actually professionals. Cherie gets paid. John gets paid. He's a professional. Right. Saul's a professional chiropractor. Gary's a professional computer technician. But yeah, okay. Anyway, I digress. What else? Okay, so thanks again to Nathen for his songs. Thank you, Rob, for your Practitioner of the Day activities. Thanks all of you for your activity on the comments, and for being with us, and for sharing the service with others. And it'll be uploaded to YouTube later today for those who didn't get to watch it here on Facebook. And always thanks to our staff, to Bridget, Dr. Susan, and Lane for holding down the fort, and for all the volunteers. And you will hear about how you get a chance to volunteer, who are going to be helping us to clean up the center and make sure that it's been dusted properly, because after a year a little dust can pile up here and there. So we'll be calling on folks to come in and give us some support around those sort of things. There will be after service there will be an opera Virch, so stick around for that. And now it's time to talk about how we support the center, and it's through the donations from people just like you and me, who give of our, not just our time, but of our finances, our cash, to hold the place together. We have a number of different ways for you to support our center. You can go to cslcme.org/donating. Text the word GIVE to 805-600-5677. And you can even call the office after service and at 805-527-0870 and donate the old-fashioned way. Talk to Dr. Susan or Dee and say, hey, we want to give some money, and that's how you can do that. And you can give yourself. Prosperity and abundance in your life in ways that maybe will come to you as a result of saying this affirmation. As when we affirm our good, it becomes a reality in our life. And if you make an affirmation and you don't believe it, just ask the question of the affirmation. How is it that divine love is doing its perfect work in my life? How is it that divine love harmonizes? How is it that divine love adjusts? And look at the ways that your life is adjusted. Look at the way that your life lives in harmony. Look at the way you've been provided, and list those. And those are evidences. They used to call that in the old teachings of Science Mind. They used to call demonstration, what we call now demonstration. They used to call it evidentiaries. It'll be evidence of the demonstration of good in your life. So here's that affirmation of abundance, which says, divine love is doing its perfect work here and now. Divine love harmonizes. Divine love adjusts. Divine love prospers. Divine love foresees everything and richly provides every good thing for you as CSL Simi Valley now. Divine love is victorious. And here are today's announcements.
There's my beautiful, caring, creative, quirky community committed to consciousness. Hey there! So, I'm hosting another Love Energy Pool experience Wednesday, April 28th, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. I do believe that we are surrounded by love energy all the time. And it's with our recognition that we can enhance and absorb and sip the nectar, let it land, so we can fill up our reservoir of love and give from the overflow. Come join me at the Love Energy Pool experience. Check your email for details. It's on Zoom. See you soon.
Repeat after me. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I have everything I need. I joyously share the wealth of life. I joyously receive the abundance of the universe. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Rob Thompson. That was a nice blessing with an affirmation lesson all at the same time. I'm going to save that one, play that again. Yes, indeed. I joyously enjoy the abundance of the universe. Is that what it was? I could go back and play it again, then I can remember it. I should have written it down. Oh well, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We could talk about it. Maybe I'll play it again if you come to Opera Virch, because I just posted it in the chat, so it should be there for you to see and check out if you want to. All right. So I told you about next week, which is we're going to be featuring the Soul Purpose Band. A new month. We enter the month of May. Oh boy, that means we'll have all of our other highlights of the month. We'll have the Simi Salon coming up, and then we're going to have we'll have another poetry night. It's so much stuff going on. And then we're doing the upgrade to the building to get things back in order there. So really appreciate all your support. And I saw there's some willingness to come and help out. If you'd like to help out, call the office during the week, and Dr. Susan will put your name on the list. So when we figure out all the tasks that are necessary, we can plug the right people into the right opportunities. Okay? So that's a great thing to do. It's time to close out. We have a wonderful benediction that we use that I'm grateful to my dear friend, mentor, and teacher, Dr. Mark Vieira, for these words that we share now at the end of our service to remind us of our space and our place in the universe, in this thing called life. And then we'll have our dear friend Nathen to send us home with a wonderful, wonderful tune that Spirit is calling. Spirit is calling. Listen to the call of Spirit, particularly when you find yourself falling down that hole. Listen to the call of Spirit so you know not to just walk around the hole, but to travel down a new street. All right, here we go. I'm at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love.
Of a river's flow, I never felt that I could rest. I long for home, a place to be, a spot to land, a time to say the work is done and stroll in sand. Gradually the truth appeared, like waking from a dream. Everything's evolving, and I'm part of the stream. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new way of being. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new heaven and new earth. Now that I have found the common thread, I can trust and know in faith that I am led. I face what comes, push nothing away, 'cause all things are connected and show the way. Gradually the truth appears, like waking from a dream. Everything's evolving, and I'm part of that stream. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new way of being. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new heaven and new earth. Higher cause that I can't even see, driving me to rise above and be free. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new way of being. Spirit is calling, calling me up to a new way of living, a new heaven